It is early afternoon on New Year's Day, 1863. President Abraham Lincoln is walking to his office where he will sign the final Emancipation Proclamation. His hand is numb from countless handshakes at a White House reception earlier in the day. The president is worried that his pen might tremble, which would lead to speculation that he has doubts. But he calmly and quickly fixes his signature to the great document, declaring, "That will do." Later that same day, at Fort Saxton, South Carolina, the President's proclamation is read to a gathering of 5,000 former slaves and a newly formed black infantry regiment. As the regiment is presented with its flag, a group of the freed slaves breaks into song.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
The regiment's white colonel would call it an electric moment. It seemed, he said, the choked voice of a race at last unloosed.
Let freedom ring.
The Emancipation Proclamation would become one of history's most celebrated charters of liberty, its author known forever after as the Great Emancipator. But Lincoln's motives in issuing such a proclamation puzzled his contemporaries and have intrigued historians ever since. The president struggled with competing moral, practical, and legal concerns. He had long denounced both slavery and the tactics of the abolitionists. Although opposed to slavery's expansion, he was willing as president to guarantee the institution's existence in the Old South. When the Civil War began, Lincoln was convinced that he lacked the constitutional authority to free the slaves. He resisted early emancipation efforts by Congress and even his own generals in the field. But as the war raged on, he came to favor a gradual form of emancipation that he believed would weaken the Confederacy. Lincoln's path to the Emancipation Proclamation was beset by many pressures. Abolitionists, including many of his fellow Republicans, urged immediate emancipation of all slaves. Border state leaders and Northern Democrats supported a war to preserve the Union, but not one on behalf of slaves. Some of the president's closest advisors doubted the legality or practicality of emancipation in the midst of a national crisis. And the greatest pressure of all came from the war itself, an increasingly bloody conflict with no end in sight. The Emancipation Proclamation caused mixed reactions among the American public. Southerners, of course, angrily denounced it. Not all Northerners were happy either. Some believed it went too far, while others maintained it didn't go far enough. Applying only to those areas still in rebellion, and therefore beyond Union control, the president's action freed few slaves in the short term. For many Americans, however, the proclamation's limited effect and dry legal language scarcely mattered. The nation's chief executive had used his powers under the Constitution to declare that 4 million human beings are and henceforward shall be free. The Emancipation Proclamation changed the purpose of the Civil War and the nature of the Union the war would save. Abraham Lincoln eloquently expressed this change when he went to Gettysburg later that year to speak about a new birth of freedom. The Gettysburg Address linked the Emancipation Proclamation with the principles of America's founding and its high ideals of liberty and equality. The story of the Emancipation Proclamation makes clear, however, the difficulties this nation has often faced in trying to give those great ideals a reality under the Constitution.